right, today I thought we could take a quick peek in my studio, so let's go check it out. Okay, so when you first walk through the door, you're greeted with light because well, in the morning especially, that window there, the light just comes streaming in and it really brightens the room. And then by the afternoon, I'm getting light from this other window over here. But it's good light up here, and it's a lot better for me now that I'm older than working in my basement, which only had one small little window down there. It's kind of like, more like a cellar than a basement, but it does have windows, but it just doesn't bring in enough light. And the window is on that side, so I'm not getting light in the morning or anything like that. So it's really nice to be up in here. Anyway, you walk in, and if you turn immediately to the left, this is an oak bookcase. It's full of the stuff that I use daily or periodically in my work. So, and I managed to acquire a lot of these old wooden boxes, like at flea markets and stuff. They'll always be selling these old cheese boxes or fruit boxes from a long time ago. And I like the vintage look. They're kind of cool. And I keep art supplies in, and they're really handy for that. So, apart from the jar, stuff like that, it's nice to have these old boxes. Yeah, I like the idea of repurposing things so they don't end up in landfills. I really like these clear containers. They're really big and they're just Target pretzel jars, I guess. They're plastic and they would have ended up in a landfill, but they're perfect for holding paint, markers, and whatever else. And so basically, a lot of the stuff I use while I'm doing my work is right on that shelf conveniently. And I got a little printer and a printer table. There's an antique table, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And then there's a closet, which has, junk in it. So I'm not going to open that up. But yeah, so then we come to this bookcase here there's actually 4 bookcases here. They're the Billy bookcases from IKEA. And they were in that birch veneer, which I thought was kind of nice. Setting the bookcases aside for a second, this thing is filled with art books for the most part, or vintage old books that I like, some poetry books, and history books. I mean, I got Walt Whitman and Cahill Cabran there, and there's like a book full of poetry here. So those are kind of old, really old but cool books. And then, yeah, lots of mementos from my past. That 80s boombox is really cool to still have that. Some cameras, and then just tons of sketchbooks and other types of books on art or artists that I like. Lots of sketching books over there. We can take a deep dive into this cabinet sometime if you want. Just leave me a note in the comments and I can go through it. But just tons and tons of sketchbooks. I've even got work logs. But yeah, just lots and lots and there's some empty sketchbooks, by the way. Those need to be filled. Note to self, fill those sketchbooks. And if I swing around here, this is kind of the view I have when I'm sitting at this desk or doing a YouTube. And I really love this library desk. This is a library desk that my friend Al and he's my neighbor, but he's also a master woodworker. And he helped me restore this library table in the summer. And I really enjoyed that whole process. So I'm really happy to have this. And it really makes the studio or library or den or whatever you want to call it, just a really nice place to be. I like the warmth of this wood and the vintage ness of this table. And it gives off a really sweet vibe. I love sitting at this. And it's like I got this old timey chair here, which works good. It's a swivel chair and it's comfortable enough. So then let's come over here. Yeah, one other thing. I'll just back up a little bit. Rewind. So when I'm sitting here, one of the cool things I get to do is look up at my wall of art. Now, this is art that I've collected over many years and lots by artists that I really admire or know personally. And there's a couple of my pieces on here too, but I'll let you guess which ones are those. But these really have meaning to me. These are people I know or have collected or followed over the years, and kind of the sort of landscape painting and things like that I love to do. This was a nice etching by a friend of mine named Stuart Lockridge, which I hand watercolored. So we did that together, and that was really fun. Some paintings by an artist named Richard Abraham, a very nice etching by my friend Stuart. There's a Gareth Jones scene of Chicago, which is very nice. Another drawing by Stuart and another etching, and some small oil paintings by Stuart Lockridge as well. He's a good friend. And then, so when I'm sitting there at the table doing work or YouTubes or whatever, I can always just look up and see that wall of art, and it always makes me feel happy, seeing that art and just being surrounded by art and the beauty of that. I don't know, just there's something about that. So I guess we'll come to this point. This is another IKEA like a bookcase or cabinet, whatever you want to call it. What I like about this thing is it's extra sturdy. It's really heavy duty, and it's got these 1-by-1 foot cubes, 8 of them. They're perfect for just stacking stuff or putting books in or supplies like I have strewn throughout this thing. But yeah, that's a cool. It's got a lot of utility. That's why I got it, and I like it. And then this little. I don't know what you call this thing, but it's like a computer monitor stand or whatever, and it's got a little drawer, but it's handy to have as well. And that's another IKEA thing. I'm not too picky about that stuff. If I had a really nice vintage cabinet, like something mid-century modern that did the same thing, I'd probably put that there. I'd rather collect old things than new things, but just the same, it works. So speaking of old things, this cabinet right here, this really cool cabinet, was another project that I worked on with my friend, and we restored this thing to its original condition. It's a mid-century cabinet. It's got glass doors. We did this in the spring, and it was a really fun project. Now I have everything kind of in totes and marked out, but it's full of like stationery, mechanical pencils, erasers, and sharpeners, things like that. And by the way, I do have kind of a pencil obsession. So just take a quick look. It's a pencil box, but there's way too many pencils in there. But anyway, that's always fun to find the right pencil you want. Like, say you wanted a 2B. Oh yeah, and just in case I got some extra Faber-Castell pencils there. Which brings me to this antique case right here. This was a store display that would have been like in an art store or department store that sold art supplies, in the early 20th century. So it's got these glass cases, and this would hold, like erasers and sharpeners and things. And then inside here, you tip this up, and you can access all the pencils in here. And some of them still have the old labels. And I did put some vintage pencils in there, but I'm really proud of this thing. I'm really proud that I bought this thing, even though at the time I think it cost me more than I could afford. But anyway, I love having it in the studio, and it reminds me that, the pencil's been around forever, and it's cool to have that. And then, this is by an artist named Dan, is it McCarthy? I think it's Dan McCarthy, but I love his work. I first found out about him in a Field Notes edition, and he had done the cover for that, but I kind of love this. It's so Midwestern, You got the farm there, the farmhouse, Well, that's pretty much the studio. You've seen it all, I guess. We could take a deep dive into anything you saw. Let me know if there's something that really interests you, and I can do another video on that or answer questions if I can. I forgot to say, this room's about 10 by 12. Most of the rooms in my house are pretty modest, except for the master bedroom, which I think is like 20 by some number, probably 20 by 12. It's a pretty big room, but it's a 3-bedroom ranch-style house built in the 50s. It's got nice hardwood floors, which I love. I've got it set up, I think, just the way I like it. Over the years, you kind of learn your own aesthetic, and you kind of accumulate things and you figure out like what works for you or what you enjoy being around. And I kind of like being surrounded by art and books and art supplies. Lots and lots of art supplies. So, I mean, that's basically the tour. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you got studio ideas for yourself or you think there's something I could have done different, I'm happy to listen. Yeah, that's it. Hope you have a great weekend. Until next time, this is Marty for owingsart.com.